Welcome to This
And
Explainer.
Gibson Dobo,
Today, we are
the
diving
smart
into something
data and smart
absolutely
city
fascinating,
consultant.
a massive, digitally driven blueprint aimed at transforming Monrovia into a leading West African smart city. We're going to be unpacking a comprehensive strategy put together for the Monrovia City Corporation's mayor's office by strategist Gibson S.K. Dupo. It's a really incredible look at how a city standing at a crossroads can use a mix of fresh technology, administrative discipline, and good old-fashioned civic duty to completely reinvent itself. To make sense of all this, I've broken today's explainer down into 5 key areas. First up, the smart city vision. Second, upgrading urban infrastructure. Third, digitizing city governance. Fourth, the new social contract. And finally, we'll look at the 24-month roadmap. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of Monrovia's plans, let's just ask a basic question to ground us. What exactly makes a city smart? You know, when you hear smart city, you might just picture free Wi-Fi in a public park or maybe a slick new city app. But as this blueprint makes crystal clear, true modernization goes way beyond that. It's really about citizen-centered governance. It's about leveraging technology to solve very real, everyday physical problems for the people who actually live there. Which brings us right to our first section, the smart city vision. Now, what's really smart right off the bat is that Monrovia isn't trying to reinvent the wheel here. They're actually looking closely at global heavyweights, think Paris, Tokyo, New York. And those leading capitals prove that real, lasting transformation relies on 5 absolute pillars. You've got to have citizen participation to build trust, you need open data systems to guarantee transparency, then there's smart infrastructure to cut down on costs, digital administration to speed up services, and maybe most importantly, social contracts that reinforce the idea that everyone shares the responsibility. So, when we talk about this strategy, we aren't just talking about plugging in some new servers and calling it a day. The plan defines this as a structured, citizen-centered work plan that zeroes in on governance ethics, administrative discipline, and modern infrastructure. The whole goal? To build a globally competitive urban identity. It's an administrative overhaul designed from the ground up to make the city cleaner, connected, and highly transparent. All right, let's move on to Section 2, upgrading urban infrastructure. This is where we get into the tangible hardware of the city. Let's start with sanitation, because, well, we've all seen overflowing public trash bins baking in the hot sun, right? Monrovia's solution is actually pretty brilliant. They are rolling out Internet of Things-enabled waste bins that literally send a text message to the city when they get full. Add in GPS-tracked waste trucks, and suddenly you've got a sanitation department running with absolute pinpoint efficiency. No more wasted trips. Plus, they're piloting waste-to-energy initiatives and teaming up with private recyclers to completely reimagine how urban waste is handled. Next up is getting around the city. To tackle congestion and mobility, Monrovia is deploying AI to intelligently manage traffic lights. I mean, think about how frustrating it is sitting at a red light at 2 in the morning when there is literally zero cross traffic, right? By ditching static timers for dynamic systems that react to real-time traffic flow, that problem is basically solved. On top of that, they're setting up digital parking zones with mobile payments to make parking a breeze, and they're rolling out bike lane pilot corridors to encourage sustainable transit. Of course, all this hardware is ultimately there to protect the people. Take the new solar smart streetlights. If the main power grid goes down, the city still stays illuminated. But the tech goes much deeper than just keeping the lights on. They're introducing community policing dashboards and AI-supported emergency response networks. This means emergency services aren't just reacting after the fact. They're actually using data and artificial intelligence to track, predict, and dispatch help way faster than traditional 911 systems can pull off. But here's the catch. The smartest traffic lights in the world are completely useless if the bureaucracy behind them is still shuffling around stacks of paper. And that brings us to Section 3, digitizing city governance. To enforce some serious administrative discipline, the mayor's office is setting up a high-tech war room. Instead of dealing with the usual bureaucratic silos where, one department has absolutely no clue what the other's doing, this war room serves as the central brain of the smart city. It enforces digital project tracking across every single department. So finally, everyone is on the same page. This daily monitoring ensures that all that fancy physical hardware we just talked about actually works the way it's supposed to, day in and day out. For everyday citizens and business owners, this is going to be a massive leap in efficiency. Heavy administrative tasks are being totally digitized and routed through a new digital citizen service center. Just imagine never having to stand in a long, agonizing line just to file some routine paperwork. Business registration, property tax payments, building permit processing, it's all moving online.
They're also launching a Monrovia open data portal so the public can see exactly how the city is performing. Talk about walking the walk when it comes to transparency. But as you might guess, you really can't have a smart city without smart, engaged citizens.
Let's unpack that in Section 4, the new social contract.
This is probably my favorite part of the blueprint because it highlights a crucial point. Making this happen requires a strict three-way partnership. It's a true ecosystem of mutual reliance, where the government, the citizens, and the private sector all have to step up and accept specific duties. Citizens are on the hook for monthly community cleanups and strictly following waste sorting rules. In exchange, the government promises reliable weekly waste collection and completely transparent finances. Meanwhile, the private sector is expected to pitch in by adopting corporate street cleaning zones, sponsoring infrastructure, and running innovation labs.
And here is where this social contract gets very real. If a citizen does their part and reports a problem, let's say an environmental violation, using the new digital feedback portal, the government is strictly mandated to respond within a 48-hour window. 48 hours. That timeline holds the administration directly accountable to the streets. It's not just a polite suggestion, it's the fundamental building block of civic trust. Of course, all these ideas sound great on paper, but execution is the whole shebang. Which leads us perfectly into our final section, the 24-month roadmap. They're not wasting any time here. The rollout is structured into 4 overlapping phases, packed into just 24 months. Phase 1, the first 90 days, is all about governance setup, getting the Citizen Council, dashboards, and digital portals live. Phase 2 brings in the smart infrastructure, like those texting waste bins and AI traffic lights. By Phase 3, the heavy administrative lifting happens, digitizing permits and taxes. And finally, Phase 4 focuses on sustainability, pushing recycling and expanding community policing. It is a highly aggressive but really logically sequenced timeline. Now, you might be wondering who's paying for all this and how it all connects. To fund this rapid transformation, Monrovia is teaming up with major international players like the World Bank Urban Development and the ECOWAS Smart City Fund, alongside the UNDP. At the same time, local telecom giants like Lone Star and Orange are stepping in to provide the crucial IoT connectivity needed to make all these devices actually talk to each other. By bringing in local innovation hubs and private waste companies, they're proving that this kind of overhaul takes both global capital and deep local expertise. So what is the ultimate payoff? Well, by sticking to this meticulously planned roadmap, Monrovia expects to completely revitalize its urban identity. We're talking about drastically improving citizen satisfaction and building a much stronger revenue base for the city. The expected outcomes? Cleaner streets, way less traffic congestion, enhanced safety, and lightning-fast service delivery. Put all that together, and you get a modernized, globally competitive capital city. As Monrovia gears up to implement this incredibly detailed modernization framework, it really makes you stop and think about your own hometown. Are the leadership and the citizens in our own cities prepared to sign a social contract like this for the future? I mean, are we ready to accept our own civic duties in exchange for a guaranteed 48-hour government response time? Because at the end of the day, true transformation requires a lot more than just fancy technology. It requires all of us. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep looking for those smart solutions in your own community.